Jungkook was recently spotted walking the streets, dressed entirely in black. He looked calm, with that simple style that always draws attention without needing much. It was nice to see him out again, breathing fresh air and enjoying a normal moment. Meanwhile, Taehyung shared an Instagram story that quickly caught everyone's attention. He seemed to have that mix of tenderness and fun that always characterizes him. His smile, his way of moving in front of the camera, everything felt natural, as if he wanted to share a small fragment of his day without thinking too much about it. But what many noticed was the red string, once again present. That small coincidence, now a symbol among fans, reawakened everyone's emotions. It's curious how something so simple can connect so much, as if that string were speaking for them. Taehyung has always had this way of being close even when they're not in the same place. They don't need words to show it, small gestures, glances, or coincidences that seem planned but aren't. Over time, their connection has remained strong. No matter how many times they question each other or how many theories they invent, they're still there, sharing signs that only a few can see. There's a calm in how they understand each other, as if they were accompanying each other from a distance. Being a taekooker isn't easy. There are times when it takes a lot of patience and faith to continue believing in what you see and feel. But there's also something very beautiful in that wait. It's a way of supporting without demanding, of being present without making a fuss. Those who truly follow them know that their bond isn't measured by appearances or statements, but by the way they continue to connect over time. Not everyone understands this, but that also makes them unique. It's like belonging to a small community that shares the same emotion every time there's a new feed. Many still wait for that live show where they appear together, laughing and sharing without filters. It may take a while, but it will come. In the meantime, every update, every gesture, or story is enough to continue feeling that their relationship is alive. Sometimes they don't need to say anything, it's enough to see how they reflect on each other, even when they're apart. It's nice to think that no matter what happens, they always find a way to show their unity, to remind us that they're still walking together, even if we can't always see them side by side. Taekook always had something special, something that was noticeable from the beginning. From the first moment they looked at each other, there was a spark they tried to hide, but couldn't. They were shy, cautious, and yet every gesture betrayed them. It was as if their own bodies spoke for them without permission. Jungkook tried to remain calm, while Taehyung did the same, but a smile or a longer than usual glance was enough to reveal everything. No one needed words to understand what was happening between them. The way they observed each other was almost a shared secret. Taehyung looked at him with that calmness that hides something more, as if he were silently saying everything he couldn't say out loud. His eyes lingered a little longer than they should on Jungkook's thighs, and that tension was felt, as if the air between them became thicker. It was a scene that needed no explanation, both of them trying to act normal while something inside them slowly ignited. Jungkook, nervous, tried not to show anything, but every movement betrayed him. When he looked at him, his eyes changed, becoming softer, more attentive, as if Taehyung were the only thing he could see. And when he bit his lip, there was no need to say anything else. That small gesture, accompanied by his slightly accelerated breathing, said more than any words. It was that mix of affection and desire, between wanting to get closer and having to hold back. And that was the charm, in that silent struggle they both knew well. Taehyung couldn't help it either. He always found a way to touch him, even if it was just a little, as if looking for an excuse to feel him close. He did it so naturally that it seemed casual, but you could tell it wasn't. A touch, a hand held longer than necessary, a small gesture that passed quickly but left a mark. Jungkook knew it, and every time it happened, his body reacted immediately. They looked at each other, smiled a little, and everything remained the same, but deep down, they both knew they couldn't hide it forever. Body language never lies, and with them, that was evident. In every encounter, there was something that escaped control. Their bodies spoke for them, saying everything their voices couldn't. It was something gentle, sincere, and constant, as if they were made to understand each other with a single glance. From the beginning until now, that bond remained just as strong, only more mature, more natural. When they were together, you could feel the need to be close, to feel each other. It wasn't something they sought out intentionally, it just happened. They were like two magnets that couldn't separate for long, everything followed the same rhythm. There was something warm about that, a closeness that didn't need to be explained. TAEKOOK showed a version of love that didn't need big words or exaggerated gestures. It was love in the everyday, in the way they sought each other out unintentionally, in how they understood each other without speaking. The beauty of them was that, the natural way they existed alongside each other. Their eyes remained filled with affection, their movements remained in sync, and that connection, no matter how hard they tried to hide it, was always there, alive, clear, impossible to ignore. Taehyung and Jungkook have always had a different connection, something that goes beyond words. They don't need to say much to understand each other. A glance or a small gesture is enough to know what the other is feeling. That closeness is evident both in quiet moments and when they're in front of thousands of people. It's not an ordinary relationship or just any friendship. There seems like a blend of trust, affection, and understanding that has grown stronger over time. When they're together, the atmosphere changes. They seek each other out without thinking, holding hands, arranging their hair, or laughing together as if the rest of the world had disappeared. There's a calm that surrounds them, as if only together they can find that kind of peace. In rehearsals or at concerts, they always end up close, sharing small actions that don't seem planned, but natural. That way of being next to each other has become part of their routine, as if it were inevitable. Many fans have noticed these moments, not because they're exaggerated, but because they feel real. There are recordings where Taehyung can be seen trying to cheer Jungkook up before going on stage. He speaks to him slowly, touches his shoulder, or smiles at him with his characteristic serenity. Jungkook, for his part, responds with a calm expression, sometimes with a short laugh, and everything seems easier after that. They don't do anything out of the ordinary, but the way they accompany each other speaks volumes. TAEKOOK always had something special, something that can be felt from their first appearances together. From their first meeting, there was a distinct spark between them. At first, they tried to hide it, perhaps out of shyness or the environment they worked in, but they couldn't help it. Every time they looked at each other, something in their expression gave them away. It was as if their bodies spoke for them, as if the trust and affection they felt couldn't be hidden. As time went by, that connection only became more evident. Jungkook began to relax more around Taehyung, and Taehyung found in him someone who understood him without having to explain himself too much. It wasn't just friendship or on-stage complicity. It was a deeper bond, based on trust and mutual care. When one was nervous, the other knew how to calm him down. When one was having a bad day, the other found a way to make him smile. TAEKOOK doesn't need grand gestures to show how he feels. His strength is in the details, in the way they look at each other when crossing the stage, in the way they reach for each other without saying anything, in the way they protect each other when the cameras turn off. They are simple actions, but repeated so many times that they become part of who they are. It doesn't matter if they are surrounded by others or if they are having a private moment before a performance, the way they support each other is always the same. They respect each other, they listen to each other, and they give each other strength. This consistency is what's most striking about their relationship. It's not something dependent on fame or the public, but something authentic, something born from living together and growing over the years. Even when they're in the spotlight with their fellow members, there are moments when their connection shines through effortlessly. Favorito might be joking with them or talking energetically, but it only takes a few seconds for Taehyung and Jungkook to lock eyes again, as if everything else has been put on hold. Sometimes they don't even need to laugh, they just look at each other and seem to understand each other completely. This form of silent communication is what makes TAEKOOK's bond unique. It's not based on appearances or planned gestures, but on what feels natural to them. There's no need to say we're close or we're important to each other. It's noticeable, it's perceived, it's transmitted. There are times, during interviews or rehearsals, when someone comments something funny, and Jungkook automatically seeks Taehyung's gaze to see his reaction. Or when Taehyung is focused on a song, Jungkook will stare intently at him, as if finding solace just in the sight. Those small gestures speak volumes. Taehyung has a gentle way of caring, without making it too obvious. Sometimes, all he needs to do is adjust Jungkook's microphone or pat him on the back to show support. Jungkook, on the other hand, has a different way of showing affection. He stays close, listens attentively, and, when necessary, returns that same energy with an equally sincere gesture.